Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs YouTube channel. Part 2 of the vintage air heater install on the Area 51 project. Apologies, it's quite a long one this time, but I just wanted to get all the like the heater controls sorted, all the ducting and crap like that kind of done. I've tried to edit out as much as the sort of super boring stuff as possible and just left the normal boring stuff. Yeah, hold on to your hats, buckle in and get ready to go. Also, as an extra bonus, sort out the little cable clips and that and get all the little cable pulls working for the cold air intake stuff, like the cabin cold air thing. Okay? Cool. Let's get into it then. Danger, Will Robinson. Yeah? No? No? Okay, I think everything works. Jesus, fuck that head. Okay, so if you've seen the last video, you would have heard me yabbering on about the vents and stuff, the Demister that came with the vintage air universal heater thing that I got, and the original ones. Now, dug out the original ones and they are kind of different, and I'll probably go with the original ones because I've got them and they fit up there. I don't have to do any fabrication. These are slightly smaller, but they do have these little directional things that would probably make them slightly more efficient in the respect that it directs the airflow evenly across the windscreen, if that makes sense. These ones are just a hole, but these ones fit. The only thing that doesn't quite fit is the hose that I got with the vintage air kit is slightly too small to go over these, but I might be able to just squeeze them up a little bit just to so the hose fits on, give them a clean up, give them a paint, and then they can go back as they were. I'm not too fussed about having those directional things in there. And the other thing is, if you have a look at this in here, fitting them, imagine that's on the underside. Normally those other factory ones are hung on these two screws down here, and whereas these ones I'd have to find some other way of mounting them and getting up there and drilling holes and crap like that. So, oh, hang on, got my GoPro little string caught on the another screw. So I think I'll just use the original ones, I think that's the business. So I might start with cleaning those up. I want to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the controls, where I'm going to put them. The original heater control unit is this monstrous thing here, which normally they come out of the dash and sliders, like, you know, sliders like that, slide up and down to control, to do what that unit there does. It would have been real cool if I could figure out a way to attach these switches and controls into work off these sliders, and I reckon I could get that to work, which is the fan, the blower switch, but the other two I don't know. I might end up with just this real sort of rough looking cobbled together piece of crap, and it still might not work. So what I'm thinking is maybe deleting these three slots in here, or just leave them open. I don't know if it's going to matter that much. Not going to be any lights behind there or anything like that, and find somewhere else to mount the heater controls, which I have a couple of options. I found this in my box of parts that came with the car, and this is the radio delete panel, which goes in here. So that's the old factory radio area there, and I'm thinking that was sitting up on there, gauging by the paint marks and stuff like that. So what I was thinking is maybe making a plate up that I can mount those controls onto and just have the heater controls in where the factory radio might have been, because I might put sounds in this, but maybe put them somewhere else, you know, like a hidden head unit of some sort. So because like a modern head unit just looks rude in a car like this, so I'd need to find somewhere else to put it anyway, or get one of those retrofitted vintage bloody head units of some sort. But if I make a console, I might mount something in a console, you know, or even in a armrest, and so it's kind of handy, but not in the glove box, because I hate having radio units or head units in the glove box. So yeah, that is potentially my plan for mounting those things up. I've just been figuring out what all the other cables and that do. I also want to sort these out. These are my cold air vent cables. This is for the passenger side, and this is for the pilot. So that, what I really want is 2 of those, so I can do the passenger side in the same format as the driver's side, because the driver's side, I don't know if you can see this, just comes out here straight onto there and opens that little cold air vent, which is kind of all I want it to do. On the passenger side, the cable used to come out here, which I have now covered up with that heater mount bracket, which I'll fill in all these holes and clean all this up properly when we get back into filling all the rest of the gazillion holes in here. And that used to come across here and into there and operate, come across there and into there and operate this cold air vent that way. But it's got holes here which I could utilize with another clip system like on the driver's side, and just have a shortened cable that just opens and closes it that way without having to have this bracket and other ugliness. Try and keep it simple. So I'm going to try and make me another one of these if possible. I might take this one off, hopefully, and maybe try and sort of fold up something and fabricate something like that that'll work on that side, and with any luck I can get that little vent to open and close on a shorter, cleaner system. So I might start with, I'm going to start with cleaning up those vents, get the hose to fit, clean them all up, chuck a bit of black etch on them, maybe rattle can some black or something on there just to make them tidy, and while they're drying then I can start figuring out what I'm going to do with the heater controls. Cool? Okay, let's get into it. Hey guys, just want to quickly interrupt this video to politely ask you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. That'd be really choice, and yeah, because otherwise you'll miss out on all that is the Area 51 project, and you don't want that, surely. Okay, back onto it. Okay, so that's my vents sanded back enough and got all the bulk of the surface rust and stuff like that off them. Probably getting the white down now. Good enough where they are, considering that looks like they just had some black paint on them for the last 71 years anyway, so they're in pretty good shape. So I'm going to give them a little squirt with my Duplicolor Rust Fix just to neutralise any surface rust that's still on there, and then I'll just give them a squirt with some black paint to protect them again. But I'm going to try and squirt some of this Rust Fix stuff down inside. There's a bit of surface rust in that and there, but I'll take them out, hang them up out the back and do that. Okay, so there's my duplicolor rust fix squirted on there, and tree that I had to cut down the other week. That was a bit of a monster. I had to do that with a little chainsaw and a reciprocating saw and a handsaw. Okay, so just sprayed a little bit of satin black onto those vents. Next, what I'm thinking of doing is the controls, the heater controls, and I've got a bit of an idea where I can do them without kind of cutting up the dash or anything like that. It's to make something that's going to kind of fit into the dash and kind of look like it's supposed to be there, hopefully. So, where are we? Heater controls. These little doodads here. There we go. So what I'm thinking for here is making a plate that I mount from the back side and mount these 3 controls slightly recessed. What I was thinking anyway is just so I don't have to cut out any of this, because if I mount a plate on the front side of sorts, you know, like a mounting panel, to get the back of the switches, they're too big for this gap, so I'd have to cut out this or mount it up and off, which even then it would still have to be considerable. You know, might as well just screw that to the front of it and then, ooh, yeah, look at that. I was thinking of maybe doing an aluminium piece that mounts on the back here, that I can put, basically just brush it, you know, like, or paint it or something, but I was thinking of doing it out of a piece of aluminium and maybe welding these up, but putting a bolt onto the back of them so I can bolt the aluminium plate on from the back. So weld up the old radio control holes. That one's a little bit buckled, so I might have to plenish that down a little bit before I do anything. And then I'll just have the 3 knobs kind of sticking out of the dash. And that's what I'm thinking for now. Or I could, rather than weld those up, I just could have a fancy dome nut of some sort on there holding them through, but it might look a bit rude having a big bolt head sticking through the dash. But cut a piece of aluminium and sort of see how it's going to look first. That's probably the first step. I've got a piece over there on the bench. Okay, so there's my plate cut finally. I'll still clean up the back of it and stuff as well, and maybe a bit more finishing on here. Could even polish it. Whether it stays polished or not is a different story. Could end up painting it yet, depending on what sort of colour system I end up going in the old Area 51. Got some ideas, but you'll just have to wait and see, because I haven't locked them in yet. Now, go and put this into place and mark where my holes and stuff need to be to attach it, and for the thingamybobs come through. I'll show you when we get in there. Alrighty, hang on, I'll just get myself into position. So this is going to sit in there. Right, like that, see? I've already scratched it, useless. So if I mark, you know, this shape here, then I can mark my 3 holes for my controls, mark these holes to be able to bolt something through. I still haven't flattened that down. I need to do that before I go too much further. And just bring that up to where it's gonna be. Why does that all work wobbly? Try it that way. That's better. Still managed to get it off center. That's alright, because I can trim this down as well. Cool as. Right, so that's my things marked now. I'm just going to get a little bit more accurate and mark my holes to drill for my controls, and drill these holes for mounting. Still haven't decided whether I'll just bolt it through there somehow with a nice fastener, or whether I should weld those up and weld like a bolt onto the back of it, kind of like I did back here with the old heater mechanism bracket stuff. Yeah? Okay, we'll go drill some holes. Be back. Okay, so that's it, kind of bolted into place, like just through the front. I'm thinking I will weld these up with a machine screw on the end, so I'm thinking of just welding these in. Imagine this is that hole there, kind of just welding that up over the top to plug the hole and give me a threaded bar on the back of the dash panel there that I can then just put a nut and spring washers or nylock nuts or something on the back of it to attach this control panel to the dash. I'm not totally adverse to having fasteners on the front, but that kind of, there's not really anything going to be going on elsewhere, I don't think, where I'm going to have visible fasteners like that elsewhere in the cabin of the old Area 51. So that's where I think, well, not think, I'll put these on. Knobs and that may end up all being different obviously, and I was thinking I may even switch this, which is the Demister to foot to in between control, and that's the fan speed. I might even switch that, turn it upside down, so I can use this bit of steel on the side here to put markings on, whether I do little stickers or whether I even just hand letter something on there, and maybe put this upside down because it only has 1, 2, 3 settings, you know, so I can put that upside down over there, and then I can put some little hand marked stuff on, kind of like I've done in the truck, you know, kind of like that sort of thing. Just kind of to explain. And then this is the heat, so that's I don't know where it is, I think that's hot and that's cold, so I'd need to set this up the right way, and then I could maybe paint something around the side of here to explain what's hot and what's cold, and then for that, if I move that into the middle, that's just like off, 1, 2, 3, and I can just maybe write fan underneath it, so it'd be like my number 2 fan. See where I'm going? That was probably a long, boring explanation staring at those buttons for you fellas. I apologise, you could have been looking at me all along, but you don't really want to be doing that. So anyway, I'm going to pull this back out again and weld these on, I reckon. I think it was very considerate of Chevrolet to put these little nuts and bolts keepers so they don't roll away. You've got these really cool little holders, like those little magnet trays that I haven't got. Jesus, fuck that head. Alrighty, so that's my control knob panel installed, welded up these little doodads, and they're not too bad. There's a couple of little pits in there, but a little bit of high build primer, a little bit of glaze will knock those down. I think there might still be a slight high spot there, but we'll get to that when we get ready to do the final prep on the paint. Weirdest thing when I was welding that, managed to shoot the wire between the bolt that I was welding in and the steel without it kind of arcing until it was in my finger, my thumb that is, and managed to get me some little bleeding on, but it hurt. It felt like I was getting an electric shock. So that's a first. So I don't know, it might have just been because the wire was still trying to just drive through my thumb. Might not have been an electric shock. So there's my little control panel. How cool is that? I'm quite happy with that. So I've switched these around, so this is now the Demister middle lower vent switch. So once it's all painted, I'll make something up to tell you what's going on there, so that I'll have to figure it out. Now I've got this whole switch upside down around the other way. So that's the fan, and then that's the temperature control. So I think that's hot and that's cold, so I might just do like one of those little whoosh, 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 little arrow things going, maybe with a H and a C or something like that, just so if someone other than me is driving it and around in the summertime and it's like they've got it around the wrong way, then obviously they're going to be cooking because the heat will be on. Alright, so next I might go and grab me vents back in from out drying in the booth and find the screws. I've got two screws up there, and for some reason these ones aren't in here. But again, once I got this, when I got this car, one of the vents had already been taken out, one of them was still up there. So I did find a couple of loose screws in a box earlier when I was looking for all the vents and stuff that I may have, they could be them, I can't remember, I just saw them rattling around in the bottom of the box, so I'll go and fish those out and see whether they're the right ones, and then might kind of fit them up just for mock up, cut the hoses to length, make sure everything's going to fit and I've got enough, and make sure that the hoses aren't going to foul up with anything else, because I've still got to figure out where the water inlet and outlet are going to go as well. Yeah, right, anyway, vents. Okay, for my vents, painted them probably a couple of hours ago, but the paint must be of the slow drying variety, so I might go on to doing the cable thing for the vent, instead, the other vent, the cold air vent, not these ones. So these are still a little soft at the moment, so I might leave these overnight to dry off a bit more than they are currently. Okay, I just put them over there to dry. So right, what I've got to do is get that little clippy thing out and see if I can make one, you know, from the driver's side cold air vent. and it's a clutch head screw, and I don't have a clutch head screwdriver, but I have a square head screwdriver, and I have had some success getting these off with a square head before. Or is it a Phillips? I can't even see in there. Oh, it's a little clutch head. Oh my gosh. Okay, after skiting about having success with a little clutch head screw driver, I can't find my little square head one, so oh, no, I got it stuck, my finger stuck in there. So that's, what's that? So that's what I've got to try and make something like that. Maybe easier said than done. I wonder if that's like spring steel. If I made that out of any form of mild steel, it'll just squish and not have that spring. But I could try and make something else that works, hopefully. Let's have a look. You know, things are starting to get really desperate when I'm rummaging through this tin. You never know, I was hoping that maybe I had one of those little clips in this tin. This tin is a tin that came with the truck. For some reason someone had filled it full of oil as well, so, but can't find what I'm looking for, so moving on. I've rummaged through all my boxes of clips and screws and stuff, hoping upon hope that I'll find just by chance one of these, but I didn't, so I'm going to try and make one. Okay, I've probably spent most of the time not actually in range of the camera, but it might work. It just doesn't have that same springy as the original, and it's a little bit wider, but that might be okay. Once you kind of get a screw down in there, it'll pull that into line, and it might actually pinch the cable as it's intended. See, this is supposed to go like so. So when you tighten the screw up, it pulls that down and bites into the cable housing there, like that, so it doesn't slide. Quite simple, really. First hurdle, the cable doesn't go through. So if I screw that down, it might work actually, maybe. Could be on the money there. Okay, now we've got it stuck in there again, but okay. Right, might just test this and see if it's going to work before I go making it pretty. Okay, so my clip works, choice. Now I just got to shorten, this is the driver side cable, so that's the driver side cable for the vent. So I've just got to shorten the passenger side one because they bolt up under there. So, but this one's actually a little bit too short. I don't know why there would be a different length, but I'll route the passenger side one up because I want to make sure it clears the glove box and stuff like that. So got to take this back off again now and shorten up the passenger side one, and I've got to make a some kind of like mount for it as well, to mount it up under here. I cannot find that in amongst all the stuff I've been looking at today. Okay, so this is the passenger side vent cable, and this is the driver's side. So you can see they're quite a little bit different in length, and they have a different kind of setup for holding them on. I don't know if that's a factory thing or this has been changed on at some point in its life, but it doesn't really matter, because I'm gonna just make up a little, probably just a little angle bracket to mount that through. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as that because they're tucked up under the dash, but I'm just going to add a little bit more onto this before I cut it down, as they say. I should check, better check. Okay, I'll go and check. Okay, so I've cut down my outer cable and stuff to where I want it. Now just trying to make a little loop-de-loop on the old inner cable part. Maybe it's a little bit wonky, but might be okay. Flies. That's all there is to it, eh? They just loop it around and cut it off, and that's pretty much what I've just done. So I'm just going to put a little, oh damn it, I know, if I go from that way, just like that. Just going to go and see if it fits over the little thing now, and other than that, that should be about it until I make up a little clampy clamp thing for it, a little pedestal thing. Primo, that fits over the little arm thing, and the length is good too, luckily, because I've already cut it. Now, not right now because it's time to wind it up for the day, I think, but tomorrow I'll get out here and make up that little thing to mount this on, because I cannot find the original one. Who knows, where it might have been lost before the previous owner got it, or the previous owner took it apart and he's possibly still got a box of clips and crap like that over in this garage somewhere that didn't come down my way. But that's alright, this is going to work, I think. It looks like it's going to work. It worked in test fit, so I'll probably just give it a little bit of a clean up, square it up a little bit, so when it's painted it looks semi-decent. Yeah? Okay. Bit of a tidy up, I think. Hey guys, next day, so back onto the Cooley event sort of bracket that I've got to make for the passenger side. So as I said, this is the driver's side one, and they seem to be, the cable mounts seem to be kind of different on both sides. So this one's got like a locking nut type of scenario, and this one seems to be pressed in. Don't know why, whether that's maybe one of them's from a different year again, like the doors, I don't know. So I'm just going to make up a little kind of L bracket type of scenario to to mount this other one. They're tucked right up under the dash, so it's not like you see them both at the same time anyway. I could endeavour to try and make something along those lines, but yeah, probably not really worth the effort, considering it's way up under there and you can't see it. So I was just going to get some, I think this is, I don't know, 2mm, 3mm bit of offcut, cut something out, fold it up, and Bob's your auntie. Okay, so get to that. There's my little clamp, not clamp, a little bracket. Pretty simple. Works, fits. So I might just chuck a little bit of etch primer or something on there, just to again keep this surface rust at bay until we're ready to finally paint things. But that's just a nice, well, just one of those little jobs that is done now, so that these parts are ready for the final clean up and paint once I've got a little primer on here, and then I can put them away until we're ready to do that once we're in the reassembly stages of the old Area 51. So right, just going to give this a little bit of a etch prime. I might do those other two little clips as well, just to keep the rust at bay of those, and then we'll get into the vent ducting and that again now that my vents are dry. Those things. There. It's drying on a dusty toolbox. Just a little recommendation from Dave DMAC Customs. Being the expert on first time putting heaters in a 51 fleet line. Put these on before you put these vents in, whether you use the factory ones or the supplied vintage year ones, because this would be a lot easier to do standing here at the bench than it would be lying underneath trying to attach the hose to a vent that's already bolted in place. Okay, tip of the day. Who does this remind you of? Danger, Will Robinson. No? Yeah? No? Okay. Some of you must remember that. I sort of watched it. That'll do for now. Okay, so that's my two vents kind of like screwed up there for now. Just for mock-up purposes, they're not tight or anything. So cut this pipe in half. I'm glad I cut it pretty accurately because there's not a lot of extra, and these will just go on here like something like that. These seem to be actually a bit harder to fit than the on the factory vents. I won't put them all the way on just yet because they've got these little burr things on there, little doodads to hold them on. And I'm just mopping it up at this stage, so I want to be able to get them back off again in the very near future, hopefully. Here, go on. Oh, geez. That'll do for now, but that gives you the idea of how it all seems to work together. Pretty sure I got those vents on the right way around. It's kind of pointing back the way, kind of gets them away from the old wiper mechanism and stuff. Didn't really pay that much attention when I took the one out that was actually in there, but oh. Anyway, so that's, I mean, we can, there's a little bit of give in them still, we can kind of pin them up out of the way a bit more once we do the final assembly. You don't really want to kind of foul them up and anything will overstretch them, because that's the air intake there for the blower fan there. So I need that relatively clear. Yeah, we'll figure that out later on, no hurry. Right, I suppose next up I'll have a look at the actual heater hoses, like the coolant line hoses from the motor engine. To go through the firewall, I'll get those little pipes and stuff out and see how I can how that might work, because I'm wondering whether to put the flow valve on the inside rather than in the engine bay, just for a cleaner look. But is that potentially opening myself up to problems if it leaks? Shouldn't leak though, should it? It's brand new. We'll have a look. Coffee time. Okay, so just got back from some hillbilly foraging out at Pick Apart and a little trip to Super Cheap Auto where you get not much more, and they lived up to their name again. Just wanted to buy a couple of meters of heater hose at the size I needed, which was 5/8 16mm heater hose. Anyway, they had on the roll, they had 12mm or 1/2 inch and 3/4 or 19mm, but not the most common sort of heater hose size that there is available. But I managed to buy some off the shelf for certain model cars and stuff. So there was a couple of models, a couple of bits of hose that I got that were long enough to do what I wanted to do, and I got scavenged some stuff just by chance actually at the old Pick Apart to get some kind of angles and stuff that I needed to get under here with the fittings and stuff, to figure out how to kind of get it up and around onto the firewall where I want the hose to pop through the firewall. And yeah, now I've just got to work out all that plumbing, work out where to put this flow valve, and where that's got to go and stuff, and does it need a mount? I don't know, it could do, or is it alright just swinging on the hoses? We'll have a look and we'll see. Okie dokie, I've been piecing together the plumbing for the water in and out and stuff like that for the old heater system. Now I've just kind of got it cobbled together at the moment. I'm trying to decide where I'm going to take it through the firewall. I was going to try and utilize this existing hole, but nothing really kind of wants to sort of sit there nicely anyway, so I'm thinking of bringing just a couple of hole saw holes through this swage here and running them like that. So that's my plan, and then I'll have to rejig these hoses and stuff to make it all kind of fit together, which is not the end of the world. So I'm going to drill some holes. I'll come back. Okay, so being that the GoPro is doing some weird stuff again, I just take 2. Okay, so it's about, I don't know how many hours later. So there we have it. So drilled my holes and went through 1.5 hole saws to burn through there. Don't scrimp on hole saws, guys. Then I needed something to support that balance pipe, which I'm using as my through the firewall type thing, through the supplied grommets that came with the old vintage air heater kit. So I made this little clamp. It's just clamped around there with a bit of a rubber around one side of the H pipe with a bit of rubber, and I've welded a bolt into one of the existing holes from the engine bay side, so I can just screw this on. It's screwed on at the moment with a riv nut because I don't have any fasteners the right size to thing. So that's just to support it, nothing too radical, but it took me ages, hours. And yeah, so there's my, I think that's the inlet, yeah, the inlet and outlet flow pipes. Get that thing stay out the way. It'd be good if I could figure out a way to put a bubble flare into this top outlet pipe, and then I could cut it a bit shorter and just bring that down. At the moment, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but it's kind of pointing up and it looks a little bit messy. So if anyone's got any at-home tricks for putting a bubble flare into what is this, 5/8 aluminium. I don't have I've got like a flaring tool for doing, what do you call it, like brake lines and stuff, but I don't think it can go that big, and it doesn't really do bubble flares either, and I haven't got one of those fancy hydraulic jobbies. But actually I just had a thought, I might know someone who does. I'll check with him, but he's on holiday at the moment. Yeah, so got some leftover bits. There's the bits that came out of the firewall that landed on that plastic bag and melted into it. And yeah, mess, leftovers, crosscuts, clamps. I haven't clamped it all yet because it's just really just to make sure everything all fits and it's going to work at the end of the day. Yeah, and it should work. Did I show you the engine bay side? I'll show you the engine bay side. So obviously this is the engine bay side, and so there's my hoses from there. So they're relatively tidy, you know. Couldn't really think of a super tidy way of putting them in without having them visible, you know. If they go too low, they would have ended up in the toe board area of the footwell on the passenger seat, so can't have that. And yeah, it is what it is. Heater hoses, like I've said before, probably going to be an engine hood down if it ever goes to a car show. So next up, I think I might have a look at what's going on with all the wiring and stuff. Not to have it all finished wiring, but just to get a bit of an understanding of how it all works. And so when I do come to put it all back together, I have kind of had a run through with it. I might even plug it all in, see how it all, and put a battery to it and just check that the blower works and the servo works and that stuff. Yeah, but not today because I've got to clean up and it's beer o'clock. Okay, back maybe tomorrow after work. Okay, so I decided to wire it up and have a little play with it rather than wait till tomorrow because I got impatient. So here it is. Okay. Okay, so I think everything works. The only thing I can't tell whether it's working or not is the flow servo thing, that thing, because I can't hear it and there's vibration and stuff, so I can't feel whether it's vibrating. So I don't know, I guess I think I've got it all wired up right according to the diagram. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it works, but yeah, just the only thing is I can't tell whether that thing's working or not. I could, I suppose, take it off the hoses and run it and have a look with my eyeballs down inside it, but maybe that's for another day. Maybe more when I come to the final installation of all of this. I can do all that little last bit of troubleshooting and stuff then, maybe, because it's still going to sit in, once it comes out of here again, it's going to sit in a box for however long it takes to do all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, anyway, So that's the vintage air heater install on the Area 51 project. It's pretty much it really, I think, other than getting some decent buttons and knobs and stuff that's going to match all the way through, figuring out whether that works or not. Everything else seems to be good, and obviously we'll tidy up all the wiring and loop it all up and get it all neat and tidy up under the dash when we come to do the rest of the wiring, because this will have to go to probably a relay, I think. You reckon? Normally that would be the way with a heater, run it straight off the battery and relay it from actually I think my wiring harness allows for that. We'll see. Yeah, put a proper earth in when this comes to be installed. Could probably put a bigger eye on that and just earth it to one of the mounts that it bloody thing's mounted to. That might be the smart money. Well guys, I'm going to leave it at that for this video on installing the Vintage Air Gen 2 aftermarket heater assembly into the Area 51 project. On the whole, went pretty good. There was a few little complications, but nothing that stopped me in my tracks. Yeah, so good times. Well, it's all got to come back out again anyway, so got to make sure it's all going to fit and work, and now I'm one step closer to figuring out which holes I can weld up on the firewall. Looks like someone shot it with some sort of gun over there, but that's alright. We'll get to that. And buy me one of those paint pens, and I'll do a whole pile of like paint pen marker lines all around it. Work out what I've got to do. Oh, still got to suss out what holes to leave for the EFI and just the normal other electrical stuff, lights and marker lights and turn signals and electric fan and relays and all that kind of stuff. Most of that will come later. All I really need to figure out is what hole's going to be left behind for the wiring to come through on that. And then we're getting that much closer to blowing this whole thing apart and finally welding everything up and start painting some stuff. Still a lot to go, but we're getting there. We'll do a handbrake yet. That might be next. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take it easy and peace and cheers.